People joining there. Here they come. Tony's in the house. Hello, Mr. Jones.
Hey, Terry, how you doing?
You sound good. Hey, I saw your post and I sent your email to Corey Dade, and he says he got a job for you over there at Ketchum. I said, I think he wants to be more in healthcare. But if you got a CEO position over there, go and hire him.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, I'll look at everything that's presented, and then I'll, obviously make make an informed decision. Unfortunately, with the state of healthcare, really, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these hospitals are really not doing as well as people think. Because
Absolutely.
Particularly since the pandemic, they're not doing as well.
Hi, Jamaica. No, the pandemic. This.
How you doing?
What's up, Jamaica? You're looking good. Thank you for your.
Thank you.
I'm
Say hi,
trying to get.
Hi, Tony.
Tony.
Hey, Jamaica. Hey, there you go, Terry.
I'm about to send it to you again, Tony. You need to go ahead and endorse my endorsement video. Although I think they have assigned the Pat Tobin Award to a organization instead of a person.
Okay, we'll do. Yeah, I did see that. It was like they assigned it to Beatles.
Well, and that should be, in essence, that should be a special recognition. It shouldn't take up for the Pat Tobin Award for all the individuals in our membership that's got things to do.
Yeah.
Things and have accomplished things. And so, is your job officially done, or is there a deadline or closeout? You're done?
No, I was done on Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday, good. Okay.
Yeah, they called me into the room there with it, because I've been kind of in this position before, but when you see an HR person with a folder on the desk, that's usually not good. And it was me and another person who I worked with. It was just those of us who work internally. And my question was, okay, my direct boss was a senior director, and we had a director of marketing. I said, why don't you just take one of the directors? So of course, I never got a response on that.
Oh, this is horrible. Well, you're lucky you had an in-person. I got an email saying get on a Zoom call so we can tell you've been laid off. Okay.
Yeah.
Then here's the fun part, Tony. When you go turn your laptop, listen, when hell freezes over, come get it.
Yeah, they didn't let me walk out without my badge and my phone. That's what they wanted. And then they said, well, we're gonna what we'll do, we'll pack up your office for you. I said, no, I'll do it myself. So make sure I got all of all of my things, and I want something thrown away that's really mine. So I was able to do that, and I think I believe I left one thing there. I have to let the HR person know. It was actually my AP style book, so I need to get that back.
Oh yeah, you need that back. But I also have 10 of them here if you need one. So,
all right.
Because we had that youth camp that we do down here. Okay. I'm so glad that you guys have shown up, because I put this stuff out there last Thursday and found out no email went out. And then I got all these emails, and I'm going to forward some of them over to you guys, because there's one guy, one of our members is in Africa, in the Ivory Coast, and he just got back from Egypt, and he wants to be a panelist. I said, well, I don't know who has an approved panel or not. And did you get that job offer, America?
I did not, but I have a interview Friday for a communications and fundraising manager role. And I actually just also applied for a media relations consultant role. So I'm still interviewing. So.
Our guest speaker is part of the Women in PR Wealth Program, and they just had a wealth building workshop. So let's make sure we talk to her about opportunity. I've known Tiffany for like 20 years, but Tiffany's tied to all of the women in PR. Strong powerhouse, so we'll make sure we do that. And
thank you, I appreciate it, Terry.
Yeah, I don't understand how they would have used you for the home office, but that's Hey, you guys, I'm going to introduce you to my intern. Actually, he's past interning now. He's a digital content specialist for Focus PR at Cinzig, and I've known him. He was a mentee in high school for our mentoring program for city makers. The fellow alumni at SMU, just got his MBA. So I told him I'll put you to work. So say hello, sir.
How you doing, everyone? It's great to meet you all.
Where are you from, Cindy?
I'm from so a little background on my story. So my name is Cienzi. The origins from Cameroon. That's where my family is from, but I was born in Germany. So I grew up there until I was about 6 years old. So German was my first language. And then I lived in Cameroon as well for about 3.5 years. And so French was my second language. And then we came back with my parents in Germany. Then we won a lottery for the green card. And I moved to Dallas when I was 10. And so by the time I was 10 years old, I lived in 3 different countries and 3 different continents. And so I grew up here in the Dallas area as well. I went to the Barack Obama Mentorship Academy here in Dallas. Then for undergrad, I went to Babson College where I majored in business and concentrating in marketing. And I graduated in pandemic in 2020. And my thought was to just go straight and go for my MBA at SMU. And I just graduated this past May with my MBA and with a concentration in strategy and entrepreneurship.
Powerful, powerful. It makes me, it's intimidating, ain't it? I met Cindy at the, when we mentored kids over at the Barack Obama Institute, because Barack wrote the foreword to my book back there, so I went and gave away books at the school. So that's that. So we're going to wait for these other people to come on board, and our speaker's coming aboard right at the hour, 5:30. Now, let me tell you more about them, Tony. She has also tied, so her background is with EY Communications, a large communications company. Mm-hmm. Her background also is the philanthropic side of healthcare PR. So I told her about your work and stuff, and then she went on LinkedIn to check you out. So make sure you guys have an engaging conversation. I wanted to kind of be brief. I want people to acquire networking, because if it wasn't for networking, I wouldn't be able to sustain myself as we speak. So let's make sure we do that. Now, this is, we'll wait to see if anybody else comes aboard, but they could be pivoting. But this is a conversation about Birmingham. Who's going?
As of right now, I'm supposed to be going. You know, I've registered, I have my flight, got my hotel, which is, you know, paid the one night, still have to pay the other 3. Everything is set up. So, but right now it's kind of like going, but still not sure. It depends on where I am with my job search and resources, financial resources.
Yeah, and we have tried. Hi, Donna. We have tried tremendously to get PR companies to come to convention, and now they're biting it. We only have 2 booths left, and I don't think they want to partner. But I'm trying to sell them on the opportunity to come in as partners and create a career pavilion, so they can come in. Because, you know, we all know historically our convention has no PR vendors. The vendors in comms are PR. Now, the good thing about it is that our jobs have evolved. We are a lot of comms jobs, a lot of strategic communications, a lot of crisis communications. So we're not that PR wall that they talk about in the past. So now they're seeking us, but one has asked us for a suite, but we don't have a suite. You know, when we first got the convention announced, I went and reserved the suite. But I got an email from Nashville saying you can't reserve a suite. I said, okay, well, all right. Birmingham's a small town, so it's a little small. Everything's in close proximity. So that's it. So Donna, we're having a free for all here. So holla at us. What's going on with you?
Well, what's going on with me now is I'm just trying to working on my blog, trying to make it more consistent with my stories. I cover like arts, community affairs,
Oh, that's pretty good.
special events. So working on that, and also I do editing for, like, for instance, my most recent editing jobs involve helping someone with their dissertation, and also helping to get someone into college by helping work on their college papers. So currently, I'm not with a publication at the moment, but I have written for Chicago Defender in the past and other publications in Chicago. So that's what I'm doing now.
Oh, this is great. Now, I had stated earlier, and I can do that now. People are texting me, say they can't get in. I don't know why everybody else is getting in. But I said, you know, the first 5 people to register, you know, send you a Grubhub coupon so you can eat from home.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Donna,
thank you.
Donna, drop your email in the chat so I have it. And Jamaica and Tony, y'all are gonna get a Grubhub gift card. Y'all can't wait till I come in town. We can eat together. No, I'm just kidding. So
That'd be a fine feast, that's for sure.
For sure. I'm it's still up in the air about whether or not I'm gonna come to the convention, but I'll support as best as I can, even from afar. So
well, I think that's amazing. And what I wanted to also, if I can, we have, and Tony can help me out on this one. We have had our sports task force give each other recognition and awards. The visual task force has done it. So I think we should have an awards nomination process. We can do it online so everybody doesn't have to be in Birmingham, but we can come up with an awards process. We do have some particular people that will want to sponsor that. But I'm trying to see if we can all of us right now on this call can brainstorm about what would the awards be. And when we're talking about media related, and we're talking about our field in terms of our communication side, you know, what would we identify? Give me some ideas, please.
We could probably start with, you know, like we can kind of narrow down to particular campaigns. There's a specific campaign or two that we wanted to nominate. We can certainly do that. You know, also maybe something in crisis communications.
Okay, cool. So we could, now I like to keep talking. This is good. So I'm thinking we should, I'm going to put a working name in here, y'all. So help me out with this. Best of the best. That's our media related family. Then go ahead.
just to make sure I'm understanding, when you're talking about types of awards, are you talking about at the awards gala, or is this for our
our task force? Yeah,
our task force meeting award?
Yeah, because the sports task force, they award awards out to everybody at their task force meeting, and so does
I see. I'll put some ideas in the chat. Just let me think about what I think will be good.
Well, I thought you would have plenty, Jamaica, considering your history as the pageant queen of the world. So we thought you would have something there. So I think some of it's going to be work around networking. It's going to be work around game changing, and also there's some things that we could do. So yeah, go ahead and put something in the chat. So I'm going down the list here because this is important, and people are texting me. Make sure you talk about this. I'm going, get on the call. I love it when people just start texting you right in the middle of, they know this is going on. And so the other thing is that our Media Institute, I thought that if we can't get the PR companies to convention, that we should give a Media Institute, which we were working on prior to COVID. I like that one from Jamaica. That's a great one. We were working on project. Let me fix this. Everybody should be able to chat with each other. I'm sorry. Get that back in so everybody can see it, Jamaica. Sorry. All right, I just adjusted the chat.
Okay.
So you can repost. There you go. Outstanding PR professional. But at the Media Institute, I think that we can bring in 4 to 5 national organizations in PR. Fleischman, Hilliard, Ketchum, Ellerman, and then we can bring in boutique PR professionals and have a career booth, a career fair around that. But also, I think we all need to upgrade our skill level. One of the things that I thought was some of the basic things that when us journalists transition over, I think some of the biggest challenges we have, I've seen people not be able to hold a press conference. Okay, and then they give a red carpet event, and ain't no red carpet. So, and then they want to talk as a PR professional when you're hired as from a former journalist. You find something wrong with your company, you want to do a story on it. No, your job is to advocate, not to invest.
Yes.
So what do you think should be in that Media Institute? I think, I'm gonna put this in the chat. Job fair is one. I also think we need tools and certification. You saw in the last happy hour we had where Marie talked about PMP certification and April talked about APR certification. So I think tools and certifications are important, that we could do that on the spot. Certifications and that would be in our arena, because if you have a PMP certification, you can increase your salary. That's $100,000 a year job. So that's just basically where they go. What else do you think should be at the Media Institute? And city-wise, we were talking about cities where we have skin in the game: Chicago, LA, and Dallas. So anyway, go ahead, free for all on that.
If we're talking about like things to learn at the Media Institute, would this be open to anyone?
Yes, anybody who wants to register. It's an NABJ sponsored Media Institute. Outside will pay a different price than insiders.
I think it's important, like, for people to, like, maybe if we do like a crash course, like PR 101, whether people work in PR, strategic comms, or they're journalists, so that like people can learn more about like what a press release is, a media relations, you know, like a news release versus a press release, and just so people know how it's different than like journalism or even marketing. So like a crash course on, you know, public relations, like PR 101.
Okay, so PR, and it would cover the basics and the basic tools. I'm typing it in right now. I think that's important because I went to a PR junket where a person was doing a red carpet for the opening of a movie called Carter High, and they overbooked the event, and so some people couldn't even see the movie because all these theaters were full. And then they had a red carpet, but it wasn't red carpet. They just said it was over there. I go, okay. Anybody else got any ideas?
Well, that, you know, what you're talking about, Terry, that can fall under events, you know, event planning.
Okay, got it.
You know, that, I think that is event planning is the umbrella for that. I love what Jamaica talked about between the difference between a news release and a press release. There is a difference. It's huge. I mean, you know, it's, when I was in government, they would say, well, press release. No, we're making news, not press. So right. I would tell them press release is more promotional. You know, we have a product or we're promoting a program or something, that's a press release. But if it's a news release, somebody is leaving or something happened, that's a news release. We're making news. So you know, and a lot of times they make these, you know, kind of use it interchangeably, but the purpose of those documents are very different. So and what the, you know, how they're used. So I definitely feel that should be in there. You know, that goes under tools. That's a big tool. Right. I think we should talk about the use of incorporation of video. videos become really very, very big. You know, it's everybody loves to see videos. You know, we can kind of mesh that with you know, with social media. And
I like that. This is good.
yeah, and I forget, I had something else about video me let's see, social media video. Oh, AI.
Oh yeah.
AI. You know, we've got to have that. We, you know, we got our own. You know, Pam is our AI person, so she could certainly bring content to that.
Okay, AI and combating bias is really important. One of our allies we just did one on AI, and the fact that AI can tell a lie. Someone was getting AI information for a court case, and all the court data was incorrect. So I think that's good. I'm gonna ask you this one, Donna. Your blog should be monetized. Do you want to raise money for it? So I think we also want to look at revenue generation projects. How do we generate revenue for our craft? What do you think, Donna?
Well, monetization is something that I do want to eventually achieve. But originally I started the blog to share with people about the arts and what's going on with the community.
Okay, and how do you generate revenue for your blog? Are you tied to a publication?
So I have not gotten to that point. I've attended certain workshops that discuss that. So I'm in the process of bringing it to that level.
Okay, then
I'm very new with this. So I started off as a journalist. Never thought I would even be in journalism. And someone asked me to do a press release for a product that they were bringing to a store. Never did that before. So yeah, very new at this. It's figuring things out.
All right, so I'm going to put in generating revenue from your product. Also going to put in revenue generation as when you launch your own brand. A lot of us are displaced. And at my age, my displacement, I get great interviews, but I'm sitting there interviewing with somebody who's 35 years old. I'm not going to even finish the rest of that. So, you know, and they go, wow. And I said, oh God, if they say one more wow, I'm not going to get this job. Because when I do answer what I've done, they are just amazed. And so I think we need to do an entrepreneurial track of how we take our writing skills in, including the, blogs and podcasts can be sponsored by a whole lot of companies because they need demographics that we have. And also we can launch our own media companies and also learn how to bid for contracts. People don't know how to bid. Right now, I have a contract in tow for Carter Blood Care, which is the blood provider that competes with the Red Cross. The Red Cross asks you for blood during a disaster. Carter Blood Care provides blood to people who need blood to check into the hospital on the emergencies. And they have had a baby boomer donor base. And guess what? The baby boomers got old, they ain't giving blood, they're going on vacation. And they have no minorities giving blood. So now they put out a bid. So I need to teach people how to write and respond to a bid so you can get the money you want. So I'm going to put down bidding and contracts because some of us don't even know how to write contracts. Does that make sense, y'all? What do you think, Don?
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important that we know how to write contracts and bids and that. Tony, what are your thoughts, Tony?
No, I definitely agree because a lot of times you can bid on like the government contracts, which are big. Their potential for lots of money to be made, also on the private side, private sector. But a lot of the government, I know a lot of the like the state and county governments have these projects and they put them up for bid. And a lot of people, like you said, they don't know how to write bid. And they just don't have an opportunity to get involved. So, or they wind up being so intimidated by the process.
Right.
And
Right.
then they was like, whoa, I don't know. I think this is beyond me, is over my head. But I definitely think any kind of way that you could incorporate that would, I think that'd be more in the entrepreneurial track. And I think it'd be good because we've discussed, bidding and contracts before in one of our happy hours.
Mhm. Well, I agree. We need to pull into not just bidding and contracts, but also how to collaborate. If we have a larger established company, we can come in as a DEI partner because we find that a lot of these companies don't have people of color on their team. And some of these requirements in the contract require diversity in the company. And they are struggling to find people like us. And we've got to teach our team how to write a collaboration, which is what the Carter Blood Care. I'm collaborating with a major company that knows how to do digital content and how to do digital media buys. I'm not a media buy person, but I do know how to get Black folks and Hispanic folks to give blood. And so I'm tapping in for that knowledge as opposed to them they don't have anyone on staff. They don't have anyone at all that can turn around and do this. So that's it. So that being said, I think revenue generation is there. Now, what about, all three of you answer this question, what about mentoring? Talk to me about that.
I think I'm sorry, I was just going to say, I think if we have the people to do it, sure.
Yeah. Would it be mentoring? Well, I think it's twofold, mentoring and networking. Some of us don't know how to network our way into opportunity. What do y'all think? So I think a lot of us don't even know how to connect to our connections through LinkedIn. And I think, so we look at mentoring, and do we want a one-on-one mentoring process? I just want to teach people how to acquire a mentor.
I think both. And I also like incorporating networking, especially what you said, Terry, about knowing how to network on LinkedIn, because it's hard to know what to say. Sometimes you feel there's a connection and you reach out and it doesn't go anywhere. So, understanding what networking is and how to feel, productive in the process.
Okay. I think so. I think that combines it. When we look at a media institute, then we got location because people want to travel to where they want to go to. And we have low registration for Birmingham at this time because it's Birmingham. So that's why there's still opportunities still open for that. And I think we have to be mindful of what we're doing there. That is also, that kind of sets up the Media Institute. But I'm going to revisit some of the stuff you guys have put in here on awards. We got outstanding PR professional. How about community service? As someone who's done something in the field of domestic violence or COVID, and outstanding accomplishments or notable accomplishments. It's not about outstanding. I don't want it to create a best of the best. So what do y'all think of that?
I definitely think community service is important.
Right. Okay. Cool. I believe
it goes hand in hand.
Okay. Okay. So and then you got that, and then I think also what we want to look at is how about someone who's the pivot award? Let's go to someone who's pivot. What do y'all think?
What do you mean by pivot award?
Well, someone who has changed industries. There's people who come from journalism, PR, do an outstanding job. There are people who go from being agency to self-employment, outstanding job. That's been what in a career pivot that has created a milestone for you. That makes sense. Oh, we can
It does.
Yeah, okay, because it can always be adjusted to something else, but I think that's it. Put that in the chat for me, Jamaica, because my mouse is sticky.
Terry, what did you ask me?
Yeah, put that in the chat, pivot and the criteria for that.
Okay.
Now, this is one thing I think we also need to talk about. And Tony, you know, this is my favorite thing to talk about. I think on this media camp, we need to be able to have a session on sponsorship. Now, I was on the all-in task force. You know, the task force has told us that we can't have sponsors for our reception, but we have donations. They're just flipping the word sponsorship. And all of you saw that because I forwarded it to you. So my thing is this: when I was on there, the political task force, all of the task forces that don't have the power of visual task force and the sports task force said they don't know how to ask for money. I mean, you know, they're talking to me. I can beg ice from Eskimos, so I know how to ask money. And I said, you're not pivoting your population. If you're the political task force, how many people running for office that would love to sponsor your reception in Birmingham, which is a historical city? Okay. I said, if you are what was the other task force? There's a couple other task forces there. So they asked me to come up with a sponsorship session to show people how to monetize, evaluate their product, and then how to ask for financial support for it. So what are y'all's thoughts on that? I'm gonna call that a sponsorship. I'm just gonna call it sponsorship. But does that cover the criteria? Because a lot of people just don't monetize.
Terry, if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that none of the task force are allowed to ask for sponsorships for their events. It has to be in-kind donations.
Well, I want you guys to review the video I sent you last time, and I'll try to resend it right now. In the sponsorship, if you get sponsorship for a convention, let's say you get $10,000, 9,000 goes to NABJ, and you get to spend 1,000. It's 90-10 split. But if you get donations, 100% goes to you, even if you're at a convention. There's a little bit more nuance than that, but that is the basic point. And that's why you had that big task force meeting where people got together. I sent Tony the video and everything. I'll send it to you, Jamaica and Donna. But some of us don't know how to ask for sponsorship. And sponsorship not only includes cash and monetary support, but it also includes, I've asked 3 of the leading PR companies to subsidize hotel and airfare for those who have been displaced from work that need to come to convention to find a job. So you're asking people for donations for that. And also it also includes in kind. You know, this is the sponsorship I think is most important for us, and I guess Tony can speak to that. Media monitoring. A membership decision will kill you. It is a grip of money. But until you can tell your sponsor how did they name appear in the media based on my event or you doing a media related scholarship. Go ahead, Tony.
Now, I was just going to say, you're exactly right with the media monitoring. It's you know, even for, you know, we're working in nonprofit, it eats up a good chunk of your budget. It's very expensive.
Right, and the fee is unreal how they do that. But I just finished my event this weekend, Cityman Cook. I have to turn in a media monitoring report to HEB, the grocery store, in order to get the other half of the check. They don't give you the money up front. So media monitoring, that's an in-kind thing that we can get, because I didn't know this, Tony, but LexisNexis now has a media monitoring division just for journalists. And he called me and said, how much money you need for us to sponsor a workshop? So the reason I want to move it to the Media Institute is that whatever we raise in the Media Institute, we get 100% of the money. If we do it for convention, we get 10%. and the rest goes to them. So that's it. And I asked you, what do you sponsor? They said, we will send money. I said, I'd love to, for every member to have a 6-month membership to your program, because media emergency software is almost $2,000 a year. I also asked them to be a sponsor for some of the entrepreneurial entities, like they could sponsor Donna's blog. Oh, by the way, Donna, does your blog have a mission, or does it focus on anything? Because my podcast was about, this podcast we're doing now and the one we're going to have coming up was mostly about being quarantined and how we connect. So what does your blog cover?
So my blog covers the arts,
okay, see there,
community affairs, special events. So that's mainly what I focus on. And
that's perfect. They said that they want to be around something that's in the arts and entertainment, so people can say this is sponsored by LexisNexis. I love that, the art. So let's put that. So we do need to do a sponsorship campaign. Now, my plan, you guys, is to have these people be here when that sponsorship occurs. So they're going to come in and sponsor the session on sponsorship, so you can submit your request in their hands on the spot. And your blog is on art, and oh yeah, that's going to be up their wheelhouse, because they need to get in touch with that, because people who embrace themselves in art, this is me coming from my sponsorship network. People embracing art and visual arts and stuff, they have a higher disposable income, so companies want them.
Oh, wow.
They got extra money to spend, because if you're spending money on movies and theater, it means your kids are in college, are gone, or you ain't spending money on them kids. So they know it's a higher disposable income. How you doing, Maria? Come on, girl, show your faces. Happy hour. This ain't ain't no conference call. What up, girl?
Hey, how are you? I'm sorry. I apologize. I have been MIA. It's just been work. It's just been a lot, and I'm just getting to a point where I think I might be understanding it after a year and a half. And I've just had to disappear on a lot of people at a lot of times. So it's not, you all were in my heart and mind, but I just have not been able to give in the labor. How are you doing, Terry?
I'm doing great. The last time we talked, we were trying to get you to Vegas, remember?
Yes. Well, I will be in Birmingham.
Oh, Hercules.
Yes, my job paid for my registration and my plane ticket.
Tell her that part. She said, my job. All right.
Yes.
We now know you're working. Tell us about the job.
Yes. Oh, I am content editor for Baltimore and Harford counties for the Baltimore Sun, but I work for the community division. Yes, I work for the community division, not the main publication. So there's a difference in salary based on where I work.
It's okay.
But I'm still in the fold. Hey, who are you bouncing on your lap, Missy?
How you doing, Maria?
How are you doing?
I'm good. Oh, we have to catch up.
The last time we talked, you were getting married, right? Or was right after?
Okay, well, we'll talk later, but this is my son, Cooper.
Hi. Oh, Juicy, how are you?
Cooper's a future CEO. He ain't gonna get no job. He gonna hold it.
Yes, congratulations. So happy for you.
Thank you.
We are really happy that you've acquired a job. I'm gonna give you a recap, because we're gonna have we're gonna start that happy hour in a second, and it's gonna be recorded. Now, one thing I want to tell you guys, that all the happy hours we've done in the past, the ones on APR fundraising, and Maria, you've had some great involvement in our happy hours. The questions are awesome. They are going to be uploaded to a site so we can go back and look at them, so the tools. Today's happy hour is more important because of Tiffany Dale's ability to pivot. She went from a nonprofit in PR to a large agency to a major layoff to launching her own company, and then going back to the other company and then launching again. So we're going to talk about how we do that and how she monetizes it, because she is now currently one of the members of Women of Wealth in Philanthropy in PR. And they just had their conference this weekend and gave away millions of dollars. And she's just a homegirl down the street. She lives down the street from me. So make sure you guys are prepared for that. Let me make sure I'm checking my list. We talked about Birmingham. And we also, I've got a hotel, but I'm looking to have a roommate because I'm not going to pay that kind of money for the hotel. It's a suite, so y'all think about that. Our board member, Rosunda Hall, is working on a suite for us for our reception. Our reception is 8:30. Mita Day is coming in, so we're trying to do something honoring her recognition as Beeper's founders as the Pat Tobin Award recipient. And the rooms are still open. Birmingham is, unfortunately, Birmingham is not that desirable. It wasn't like Vegas where we, 6,000 people. Yeah. We were bumping over folks. And Vegas was good. My most memorable moment in Vegas is when I introduced Tony to some broadcasters he knew. Who was that, Tony?
No, that was from News 3 there in Vegas.
Yeah, and I said, okay, I'm gonna walk over and introduce y'all. And boy, they had a conversation for almost 35 minutes without me. Anyway, so that was
no, I was just telling her that I actually watch her newscasts on television here in Virginia on the internet. So, but I had seen her on. I first saw her on television when I visited Vegas the year before, and I said, oh, I said, well, who's this? And I was watching, and then learned about her and said, okay, well, I'll come back and but I had no idea she was going to be emceeing that that opening ceremony. So that was a nice surprise. She's really nice, very nice. We're Instagram buddies, so she's awesome.
All right. And speaking of what he just said, another part of our Media Institute is we need to learn how to upgrade. Now, like one person said on a meeting we had to one of the other PR practitioners, you still got an AOL address? That dates you. And so I think we do need to have a technical tools building thing about how we can upgrade ourselves possibly too. So let me throw that in the chat right now. Maria, we were talking about our Media Institute and some of the things that we can add that we know we need to do at a Media Institute. And it's going to be a combination of networking and a PR boot camp. So if you can add any of the thoughts that you might have on there, it'd be good. And we already talked about AI because it's the journalists thought they're going to lose their job because some computer's writing the story. But I've seen the stories and I wouldn't run those stories that AI is generating under no circumstances. So Maria, what do you have to add to that? I'm going to put this one in here.
So this would be separate from the convention. You're talking about a separate institute class.
Yeah, talking about a 1-day Media Institute, 1.5-day Media Institute in a leading city.
Entrepreneurship has got to be a part of it.
Okay, type that in the chat, dear, so I won't forget. Entrepreneurship is good. Business launch, also how to get bids and contracts, and how to monetize what you have so you can say this has value. So I like that one. That's a good one. Anything else? You want to add, Maria? Okay, so here's
No, that's the big thing for me.
All right. Here, I'm going to also, on the technology side, and not only are we talking about IG and Facebook and Twitter, but I'm going to put in here LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the biggest search, and we don't even know how to use LinkedIn to get relationships. For me to get that blood company RFP, I found out who was connected to the RFP. He had to be invited. I found out who was connected to the company through my LinkedIn. So I did a LinkedIn meetup, and then they connected me. Next thing I know, in the email, I got an offer to bid for a $200,000 contract. So LinkedIn is important to use. And that being said, I want to ask you all this personal questions so everybody gets to respond. How many of y'all have more than 10 recommendations on your LinkedIn page? I'm not talking about where they click you. I recommend you for writing. I recommend you for PR, but actual written commendations. I'm listening.
I'm gonna have to check.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen just in a minute so you see it. What about everybody else? Anybody? So I say that to say, as we're out here searching for job and job changes, people will see us on LinkedIn that has never seen us before. Now, I personally think you can send your resume to me. That's what I did for a living for years. And the only reason I can say is that everybody who sent me a resume has gotten an interview after I worked on it throughout my career for the past 10 years. No one's not gotten an interview because of the way I tell your story. And now someone said, oh, you must got some magic. No, there's some people I turned down and said, I can't help you. But there are some that I don't. So it's going to be real important that we do that. So I'm going to share my screen and look at the LinkedIn profile so you can see some things.
Terry, hey, Terry, I just checked mine. I've got 12.
Well, okay, then that's a start. That's good.
Well,
let me go ahead and share my screen real quick so I can show you what is crucial on our page. And I think that should be part of our Media Institute as well. As soon as I found out where I put the LinkedIn page, hold on a minute. Oh, there it is. Let me share that. Somehow my background has disappeared, but it does talk. My back, can y'all see that? Okay, so right here in my screen,
yes, we see it.
That's a yellow and gold thing that talks about strategic marketing, crisis communications, diversity, equity, inclusion. I don't know what's missing, but I am on a new computer, so we'll figure out. But when you go down here, you see the activities. Your activities, we teach people you got to post and repost all the time. So my posts create analytics. It helps raise the bar of people viewing me. When I post and I got 7,900 people following me, then they post and they repost. So if you look at the experience that I have here, which I need to put my current job there, but you go down here, and then your education. Having a DE&I certificate is important nowadays because DE&I is the new affirmative action. Any type of certifications and licensing, I need to switch mine around to show the licenses I have outside of the classes I take on LinkedIn. My volunteer projects, the endorsements we get. So my endorsements also make people on LinkedIn send me a job offer because my endorsements in PR and other things are high. And so we need to endorse each other. We need to do a media related member endorsement drive. So you got here, these endorsements here. Now down here it says I have 34 more. But the things that are important is this one here from Francesca talks about the fact that I am engaged with Gen Z and Gen Y and boomers at the same time. So she says I'm a walking example of inclusion. Don talks about my ability to raise money. So I think that we need to have a LinkedIn, what do we call it, challenge, that all the members can do that. And we need to go in and put in the things that we have that showcase who we are so that people can see it. The reason I say that, here's Kathy Times. I just did a proposal to do DE&I for the North Texas Transit Authority. And so I needed to, they will go and see that this is a DE&I project that she and I did. So you see that. And Tony, of course, Tony's recommendation is off the chain. It is the platinum example of how to write a recommendation. I like when he says, where to start. That gives people the idea that he ain't gonna write about everything. There's some more.
Right, and you know what? I'm glad you said that. I think one of the things you have to include in that session, if you do the session, is the quality of the recommendation. Really, and it goes to, okay, Terry does a lot of things. You know, let's pick out the top 3 and
Right.
really drive that home. It's a quality of the recommendation, and you just don't just throw something up there. If someone sends you something for recommendation, you need to think about it a little bit, how you want to phrase it, and because that's a reflection on not only you but the person you're recommending.
Absolutely, she's absolutely right. And you see the people that are recommending me are in PR and marketing and journalism and nonprofit, which is where I land. And you want to get those type of people to recommend you. So I think we need to do a can we talk challenge? Can we recommend challenge? All right, America, I'm gonna get that project to you. So it's a can we recommend challenge. I like that. So that is going to help us catapult ourselves into financing our blog. Also, getting promotions within our companies when we first get there. You know, Maria, how long have you been at the new job now?
A year and a half.
Okay, see, that 2-year window. You know, and now millennials will say they need to change jobs every 2 years. You know, old baby boomers say, oh, I'm going to be here for 10 years, 6 years. Nah, 2 years your resume is your career projection is bad if you don't change every 2 years these days. So, and it's not leaving the company, it's just moving to another position could be a change as well. So some of these go back to my college years as well. So it creates a well-rounded. So I think we need to do that. I'm going to stop the share here. But anybody else got any comments on us doing a LinkedIn, or there's someone coming in? All right.
Question about the premium paid. Who's paying for premium? I just did a free trial, but I'm going to cut it off before the end of the trial, just because there was a contact that I was trying to reach, and the only way I could reach him was if I had a premium. So I was like, okay, let me do the free trial so I could try to reach him. He hasn't responded, but I at least sent it out. But what about premium?
I have premium because I'm always getting deals for my events, and I got to reach out to CEOs and product companies, and I love it. And but my challenge to them is that I don't like when I go to my profile and it says someone from let's say someone from Ketchum views your resume. If you're gonna view my resume, I need to know who you are. So that bothers me. But other than that, it's a great tool, especially if you're job searching. It needs to be part of the investment process for at least 90 days. Mine pays off all the time. I just finished City Mint Cook, and we were able to get all these donations for the men who give up for Father's Day. So we got cookbooks, we got backpacks and things like that. But because I went on LinkedIn and started sharing again, it goes back to media monitoring. I have a decision report of the media that was caused by my event. They gave it a $240,000 media value. So then I start sending it to product companies, and so yeah, and good thing about it is they ship and they pay for it. All I gotta do is put it in the cook's bag and put it on the table and take a picture of it and send it back to them. We were successful. Welcome, Candace. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
You're looking good, sounding good. Look at that cute picture. I love it.
Thank you.
We were going over all things task force convention, things that are given a boot camp to enhance our skills. And we're coming close to the end because the happy hour is about to start. And I do want you guys to be engaged with, and I want y'all to get into some deep questions. Don't be cute. Ask something. I'm trying to find a job. I need a contract with American Airlines. Whatever you got, just get into that situation. We're going to give a 10-minute talk, and then it's going to be Q&A. And this is going to be recorded so that it can be sent back and played back, because that's where most of our members see it later on. Okay. So Candace, anything we can do for you today before we start our virtual with our speaker? Because she's in the waiting thing. She's in there waiting. I haven't let her in.
Oh, sure. And I'm actually a friend of Tiffany's. I actually would like to know a little background. This will be my first time joining. I'm not really familiar with everything being covered. I'm actually a business owner, and don't do very well in the promotion space, so I'm just trying to get some background on what this forum helps with.
This is gonna be great. Tony, if you don't mind, if you could put the Media Collaborative links into the chat so that we could add Candace to the family. I think we've met before, Candace. The Media Collaborative, it was a combination of debating. We were in Pivot, and Pivot was a monster. You know, PR people and promotion people need events and people. How can you do that when you can't go nowhere? So we created a series of online virtual happy hours. As you can see, my drink's in the back. I'm waiting for Tony to recommend what I should open up. But we created a virtual happy hour to help people pivot. We had to teach people how to separate their marketing messages from COVID, how to address the disparities in communicating when you can't go out and reach anyone. So that evolved from that to us networking, helping each other get jobs, helping each other change our profiles, helping us create partnerships and collaboration. So we went from being a member group to the thing called the Media Collaborative. And so now we're tied to 787 people who are in advertising, marketing, corporate, they're in the corporate C-suite, they are in product companies, and we connect and we build bridges with each other to get to the next level. That makes sense for you, Candace?
That's awesome. Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, so tell us what you do.
I'm actually a real estate investor, and so I have quite a few properties, and I run some of them as Airbnb. So I'm in the short-term rental space. I've kind of that was actually a pivot that I did a few years ago, and so it's been going well. But always looking to see where I can improve and promote, and do better with my marketing.
Okay, great. I think that's wonderful. And I think that the pivot would help a lot. So we're going to probably do that. Now, help me out, Tony. Thanks for putting that link in there, Tony. Go ahead and join that link, Candace, so you can stay engaged with all the people who deal with the promotion space and the PR space and the branding space.
Thank you.
Increase your brand. And when it comes to marketing and PR, the real estate families closely tied to us because the real estate people are all about that level of promotion.
Awesome. Thank you.
So we have to network soon. Anyway, I'm going to recap on what we talked about so far so we can wait. I haven't seen Tiffany sign in yet, but we'll be able to do that. So any questions? I'm going to go roll call here. Donna, Maria, Jamaica, Tony, any questions or statements you have right now? And I'm going to make a text to Tiffany, but go ahead. You guys, go ahead. We're wide open.
I'm good on my end, sir.
I'm good, y'all. Thank you.
All right. So, Jamaica, I'm gonna ask you to take the lead on creating the LinkedIn challenge.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll follow up with you this week, Terry, about that, okay?
Okay, good. Because I think that our LinkedIn endorsement is going to help all of us pivot and get the contracts that we need.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
Other people are texting me. Go ahead, Maria, and then Donna.
I'll pass to Donna.
I don't have anything today.
Hi, Candace. I have a question. Where are you located?
I'm in Houston.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thank you. And I apologize for not having my camera on. I was doing a little bit of moving around, so I'm probably not camera ready.
Terry, I think you're on mute.
Okay, and so we have one of the powerhouses of our group and one of our greatest allies, a great ally, Ron Carter. Where if you want to say hello to someone, and then you also, Taylor. Ron? Okay,
yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is fine. It's a beautiful day here in Southern California. Hope it's beautiful where you are too. Terry, you're looking smart. You look very fastidious.
Sir, appreciate it. Well, we're glad that you're here because we were talking about some things that we're going to hear from Tiffany about, and your presence here and your wisdom is going to be very crucial to today's broadcast. And it will be edited and sent out to our entire membership, 785 people, by Tuesday. So thank you, Ron. Taylor, I see that you signed in as well.
Hello.
Looking good. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
All right, we just give a little blurb about what we're saying, well, who we are and what we're looking for on the happy hour today.
Okay. Hi, my name is Taylor. I'm living in Hartford, Connecticut, and I forgot I joined this group last year during NABJ and got the text message yesterday and didn't have anything to do right now. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to network with other PR professionals. So just look to support and be here.
Okay. And so let me just say that you're in the right place. Let me make sure So we did talk about our Media Institute. We talked about convention. We talked about our suite sponsorship. We also talked about creating a tool to create revenue generation for our writings and our projects. So that was part of the first meeting, and we're about to be started on our virtual happy hour. So Taylor, you know, you win a prize because you held up your drink before I could hold up mine. So make sure you put your email in the chat because we've already awarded prizes to Jamaica and to the Donna. So thank you for joining us, and thank you because that was the next offer is what are you drinking, people? Let me see your drinks. Because this is a happy hour. So I have a couple of choices here, and I'm not showing you what's in this glass in front of me, but it's up there. So thank you for joining us, Taylor.
Thank you.
All right. So technically, let me give you an overview. I want to welcome everyone here. And the Media Collaborative was created during the pandemic so that we could maximize ourselves because we were in the middle of a never before pivot. And we had to deal with being a people-oriented business and not being around people. So it became quite an issue and a challenge. And I have some very strong allies here with Ron Carter, Tony, Maria, and Jamaica, who have put together a very powerful happy hour that we've been doing for years. And we slowed it down because guess what? We got normal for a minute. And I say for a minute because it didn't work at that time. And so we were able to help people rewrite political statements, realign their brand to the pivot, understand that. And one of the most successful campaigns I had was We Must Survive COVID-19. And that was prior to the vaccine that we were trying to teach people to curb and flatten the curve. And what we were doing, we were asking college students to stay in college, not come home and infect their elderly caregivers. We asked brothers not to play basketball again. It was a focus on the disparities and health disparities that existed in the Black community. And without this happy hour, we were not able to put together some marketing strategies that and this was really a regional impact, but it ended up impacting people in Austria, in Europe, Hong Kong, and parts of Korea. And it was a way to tell people that you are harming your elders by coming home prior to not having a vaccine and not having a way to detect the COVID-19. People were dying left and right as first responders. And so that's what came out of this one. What else comes out of the happy hour is the ability to network, solve problems, connect. Someone is working with one company, when you're a product over there, you get you got a client you want to get a story on. You got all these things that are crucial and necessary for you to get things done. So that created the happy hour. We went from once a week to once a month to quarterly, because guess what? We started getting back out in the public. But the biggest challenge is that we found that we are pivoting. So before I want to do an introduction on our speaker. Before I do that, I'm just going to do a sound check. Are you there, Tiffany?
Yes, I'm here.
All
Can you
right.
hear me?
Yes. And are you ready for it?
I'm ready. If I just want to say that I'm having my monitors. If you keep seeing me look up, I have an external monitor, so I'm paying attention, but I'm having to look in a different direction than normal. So just a fair warning to everyone.
Don't worry. When we first started doing our Zoom calls on this, we had the wrong everything. You know, I was even looking in the cameras, and I'm a journalist. Go ahead. So the process has been there. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce Tiffany Dell Hunter. Not only is she a personal friend, but she has other 3 labels with me that I'd like to share. She's been an ally, she's been a sponsor, and she's been a champion. I'm almost happy to always run into her because we have created a lot of things where we develop focus-based marketing, PR, and journalism for people that look like us. And her involvement with Beepers, PRSA, and several of our networking funds, which is the African American Executive Network Exchange. And so all of these there. But what I like about Tiffany is that she is all inclusive. Let me see. Let me just Let's see if I can summarize. I don't think I can, but I'm gonna try. Tiffany's an award-winning global marketing specialist, and she's a visionary, she's a leader, she's a speaker, author, and philanthropist. I was telling them earlier that you just finished a project, Women in Philanthropy. What was that called, Tiffany?
The Women on Business, the Women on Boards Committee.
Yeah, Women on Boards.
Yes, the Women on Boards. And so that's basically working with corporations to ensure that there is gender and race diversity on corporate boards. So I've been part of that organization for the past 3 years. I think that's what you're speaking of. That's one of the things that I most recently did.
Yeah, and I saw some of the postings on LinkedIn, and you have some friends of mine. Leah is there with Think 3 Media, Froswell Booker Drew, who's a fundraiser as well.
Yes.
That's it. So Tiffany is a proven leader with several things in her career. She's Director of Marketing Communications at Southern Methodist University, Chief Communications Officer for the Barbara Bush Houston Literary Foundation, and founder of Tiffany D Agency, which is a full-service marketing company. But I think what I like about her is her ability to pivot. And so I think that your personal messages is great about pivoting. And you've given your time and your talent to the University of North Texas College of Liberal Arts and Services. And I love Anthem Strong. We use them at City Men Cook as well, the Dallas Box Society, and Wings organization. And I love that you served as an event chair, because we were talking earlier about event building skills. So you're probably going to get a few questions today, Tiffany. So you have both a master's in business administration, certification in finance from SMU, and you have a bachelor's from the University of North Texas, and you are a Dallas site, and you do attend my former church, Tony Evans' Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, which I love so much. And of course, you know, we have some divine 9 relationships, you and I. You remember Alpha Kappa Alpha, I'm a member Incorporated, I'm a member Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated. So thank you, Tiffany, for being here.
Yes. Thank you for being here. I have to correct one thing. I've been in Dallas for 20 years, but I am a Houstonian. I'm from Houston, so I can't, you know, I see my friend Candace from Houston is here, so she would definitely keep me honest on that. So, I'm just feeling, but Houston, I've been in Dallas for the same amount of time that I've been in Houston. So they basically both are home to me though. So, but absolutely excited to be here with you all this afternoon or this evening.
Okay, and thank you for being here to share the tools that we need and necessary, because some of us are members of NABJ and we're about to transcend into Birmingham and try to do the networking to empower our group and to empower the organization, as well as what NABJ always serves is a family reunion. So sometimes it's just a reunion. But what is your current role in communications? Can you share that with us?
Yes, so I am currently a strategic communications and community engagement strategist. So I most recently, you were kind of talking about my background. Most recently, you know, I had my own PR marketing company full-time for 10 years before I transitioned into the role with the Barbara Bush Houston Literacy Foundation. Went there as our chief communications officer, then came back and ended up being with SMU and EY. And I left EY back in October to go back and be my own thing full time. So I am now working full time as a communications consultant, working with various corporations and a couple of organizations as well, crafting their creative and communications campaign. And that's what I've been doing here. I've always been doing that. That's been what I've been doing across the board, but now I'm just back doing it for myself again.
Yeah, and I can honestly officially announce that Tiffany is a go-to person. So if you need something, you go to Tiffany. I've done that for the past 15 years. And so I appreciate that, Tiffany. But I want to ask you something. You have had pivots. Some of the best pivots I've seen. Some of them have been all of a sudden, some of them have been strategic. That's going on throughout your career. Please share with us the journey and the lessons, because it's about the lessons that we have to learn along the way so that we can stay successful and stay connected. I think that one of the challenges I have to face every day is how we as people of color, as BIPOC people, tend to have to put ourselves first and lean on each other for gifts so that we can pivot. So share me your journey and your lessons, please.
So my journey, I mean, I think if you hear my bio and the different roles that I've had, like some people you hear they've been with the same organization for 20 or 30 years. That's not my story. My story is, again, I've been an entrepreneur. I've worked at a national foundation. I worked for higher education, and then one of the biggest accounting firms in the entire world. And so the one thing that I would say about that is that, I think whether you're running your own business or if you're working for an organization, we as creatives, like we are constantly looking for that next, that next big thing that we can kind of go in there and make a big impact on. And so one of the things that I always feel like is that we should not feel like that we are that I am boxed in. And so if there's something that I feel like I'm not able to accomplish, or I'm not being heard or seen at a particular organization, I'm not afraid to take that leap or that risk to move around, to create that opportunity or go and fulfill that opportunity elsewhere. And so for me, the thing about pivoting has been that what I've discovered is that regardless if I was working for myself, for a Big Four accounting firm, or for a higher educational institution, the core skills have all been the same. Like we are creatives, we are able to write, we're able to communicate, whether that is writing, whether that is speaking, or capturing visuals. And so overall, ultimately, I think that as long as we are honing those skills, all of those skills are transferable. Versus whether that's internal or external, I've been able to really, really leverage each of my experiences in each of my new roles. So I think ultimately, I mean, one thing that I realize as well is that our craft is essential in every business, right? Like there's no, whether it is a home-based business or a corporation, everyone needs our skills to be able to effectively communicate their brand, their messaging, and to be able to ultimately obtain their initiatives. So I think we are the heart of most organizations.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that overview, but I'm gonna dig a little deeper. You are part of the Great Resignation.
Yes.
Explain that to us. Explain that to us.
Yeah, I think with COVID, like most of us, like I think during that time, if you look at the pros and the cons of that, it was a matter that we were able to kind of get still and get quiet and to really be able to get home, to reconnect with ourselves and our purpose and our passions. And so for me, I think that time of like, okay, of being by myself and really being able to prioritize what was really important to me. And so for me, I think prior to that, I'd gone to SMU as well to get my executive MBA. And so I was, okay, I want to go back, I want to get my executive MBA. The reason why I did that too, share that is that, as communication professionals with social media, I felt like the barriers of entry end up becoming lower. I felt like anybody would wake up and say, I'm a PR professional or I'm a social media strategist when they had no background. They had no credentials. They could just literally go online and say they're doing these things. So now we, as professionals, we're having to go back and clean up that mess, right? They'll come to us. We're having to sell our services, trying to show the value because these people have woken up and decided they want to be one of us with no background. You can't wake up and decide that you're going to be an accountant, or you can't wake up and say that you're going to be, in IT. You have to have those credentials. So for me, I wanted to distinguish myself. I went back to get my executive MBA because I wanted to hone my skills in on the financial aspect, right? I wanted to be able to come out not only, and also to learn the new and innovative things that were happening in our industry, but also learning something new. I wanted to learn technology. I wanted to be able to understand financials and to be able to effectively communicate about the financials. So now that allowed me to go into investor relations as well. So I want to share that to say that that was one of the reasons why I went back to get my MBA, so that I can distinguish myself from these at-home, wake-up social media PR practitioners. So I think that was one thing. And so regarding the Great Resignation, I, like everyone else, had time to reflect on what I was truly passionate about. And as much as after graduate school, I really wanted to go, I was at EY, I'll just say that. And I wanted to work at a top, that's where I wanted to be. When I was an undergrad, I interned at Arthur Andersen at Ernst & Young 18, 20 years ago. And so that was, for me personally, my idea of success. I hadn't worked, so for me to be able to get an opportunity there, that was what I equated that to. So for me to come back after grad school, 18 years later and have that full circle moment, that was really special to me. Now, I say that to say now, once I ended up working there and after writing about audits and, and forensics and integrity and all those things, you mentioned earlier in my bio, Terry, that I have a very strong passion with philanthropy and social impact issues. So I realized that that was good and all, but it just wasn't feeding me. I was not tapping into, I wasn't writing about the things that I was passionate about. And so when you don't have that passion or that excitement about it, it becomes very redundant. So for me, I have to get real with myself and say, and ask myself, what was important to me? How do I take my craft, my skill, and pair it with my passion? And I started kind of taking on extra projects at my company, but then I was taking on extra work. So I decided, and I was trying to navigate within the organization, but it just didn't work out. And I just had to have a come to Jesus moment. You can stay here and be comfortable, or you can leave and be great, and I was ready to be great again. And so I resigned and I started tapping back into my purpose and my passion. And one of the things about that too is that involved me reconnecting with people. So constantly being out, people who I hadn't seen you, Terry, in about 15 years, and here we are today, right? So being able to go out and reconnect with those people. And as a result of me connecting, I've been getting projects. And so I've been able to write about, the Empower to Serve program, being able to help the American Heart Association communicate about their commitment to health to addressing health inequities in our Black and Brown communities. I've been able to work with, and before I left EY, I was able to help roll out the Digital Divide program to help bridge that gap of those who had gone home during COVID. So I'm rambling, but that's really kind of where I'm at. Like the Great Resignation was a matter of being able to come back and match my skills with my purpose and my passion. And I wasn't really able to do that with my role. So I decided to leave and create the opportunities myself.
Great. You're on point. You're not rambling. You're dealing with some notes. Now, what we have discussed in our organization is that we have lots of people who are in pivot. And sometimes it's a reduction in force when they've laid off or they diminish the role. And sometimes in PR, that seems the first budget to go. And so my question is, and I want you to expand on what you did with EY and bridging the digital divide and the gender balance and diversity there, because it seems like that at some point, people are so excited about DE&I, and of course the new term JEDI, which is justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. But I'm remembering from my past the affirmative action process, and I remember all those VPs of affirmative action. And they're still good friends of mine, but they don't have their job. So tell me, how did the EY project come about, and what was the impact of it?
So the project, obviously, with everything, every corporation was putting out their commitment to diversity and equity after the George Floyd incident. So we all, as we know, DEI issues have been existent for a very long time. That was just the opportunity. That was the time that companies started to, create these public statements and announcements. So EY made a commitment to, I forget the actual, but they had 5 key areas that they were going to. You're on mute, Terry. They made a commitment to racial inequity. So one of those was, so they made donations to HBCUs. They made a commitment to Black and Brown entrepreneurs. So they have this whole new entrepreneurship program. And one of them was, and then another thing they did was the Bridging the Digital Divide campaign. And it was an initiative. And this initiative came about as a result of all of the students who had to go home during COVID. And a lot of students, children who were in underserved communities, did not have access to laptops or Wi-Fi or even mentors. And so EY decided that they were going to grow out an initiative to help bridge that divide. And what that was to connect. We worked with United Way. So United Way, we were able to get students from their organizations, but then we also worked with a technology partner. And so we were able to connect the students with technology, and then EY themselves provided mentors as well. So my role with that was that this was very new. We had never done it. And I led the branding, marketing, and communications for this actual rollout. So coming up with the key messaging, what the graphics are going to look like, how we're going to communicate, working with our leaders to get, get statements and videos that we could use in the actual communications campaign. Everything from, I was from concept to implementation, I led that. And so I like to, that was back in 2019, 2020, 2020. And so, and now, I mean, it's a huge initiative that still has legs of its own. So it's one of my proudest things at EY. But I will say this, is that was not part of my role, my job role. So back to what I was saying originally, I was supporting audits and forensics. I had volunteered to go and help on this committee that I thought it was going to be, not realizing that it was an actual initiative that the company was actually rolling out. So I ended up I had 2 jobs and 2 roles. And so back to the Great Resignation, not because of that, but I really did enjoy that. But I knew in order for me to do those type of projects full time, it was not connected. I was going to have to do it on my own because there was just no space for me to navigate within the company to do those type of things without doing it on top of my normal day to day.
Thank you. And we're going to move forward because I want you to focus on some other things. Having launched your own company, you are now brand yourself. And a lot of our members are transitioning from in-house to freelancing, and then which we call entrepreneurship. How is it? One of the things I think they're challenging with is bidding, contracting, positioning themselves to be the vendor for a project. Can you share with us some of your success stories and how you've learned to acquire business in your journey? Because I read what you said, and I think your choice of words is great: pivot, passion, purpose. So share some of that with us right quick.
Right. Yeah. So I'll say that since I've been back on my own, I've not done a whole lot of the official government RFP type projects. Most of my projects have been through relationship building. And so I think, there is, I think whether it's going to be an RFP or a project on your own, it's about branding yourself. It's about actually building relationships. So you'll see that I've become a professional networker. Every day I have a lunch or I have a meeting with someone. And it's through those conversations that I'm able to learn of new opportunities, whether it is an opportunity with a nonprofit organization or an opportunity with, the city of Dallas. And so for me, I think the first part, if you're going to be leaving to transition on yourself, it's about making those authentic connections, reconnecting with individuals, and then finding out, speaking of a gap, what is the gap? What needs to be filled? And how does your skills and abilities fill in that gap? That's number one. Number 2 is, also understanding what your strengths are. I think that don't come out. One of the things that I personally learned is that you cannot be everything to everyone, that you need to identify what your key strength is, what is your key skills, what are your key capabilities. Now hone in on those, become the best in that particular area, and then also identify your niche, right? Don't try and be out doing bids on on healthcare and social things. Find your area. If it's going to be in technology, then focus in on technology. If it's going to be in development and construction, focus in on that. I think start there. Not saying that you can't eventually grow to do those other things, but if you're starting to come out, I think you need to be very strategic in that process and also be very intentional. Terry, you're on mute.
Yeah, I know somebody keeps muting me. I'm gonna have to talk to.
Oh, sorry, it's okay.
I'm gonna talk to that co-host. Tony, go ahead and ask your question. I see it, but I think we'll be able to come straight from you.
Yeah. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi.
You talk about pivoting. A lot of people that I've talked to They want to do the pivot, but they're afraid. They're afraid to get out there and just try. And I just tell them, go for it. If it's something that you're passionate about, go for it. Can you talk to that a little bit? Because it seems like that fear factor is the one thing that can inhibit really can inhibit their success.
Yeah, I think you need to start with just looking at yourself, right? I think why are you trying to pivot? What are your reasons and what are your whys? And understanding who you are. I think number one, start with that self-evaluation. Why you're doing this, and also just identifying, like what is the word? Understanding who you are, what your strengths are, what your talents are, and that will help you build that confidence, because that doubt is because you're not completely confident in that you'll be successful with this. So I think just remembering, creating a roadmap of what you have done all the way up till today. And that will be like, you'll say, I've done some great stuff. So sometimes we have to remind ourselves of the accomplishments that we have achieved. So I think start there. And then I will say, before you take that big leap, start, doing little things while you still have a job, right? Maybe start getting a couple different projects on the side, so when you realize that, okay, you have enough clients and enough confidence to step out on your own, you can. So it doesn't have to be a big all or nothing thing. It can be a gradual thing. Before I made my big, great resignation, I knew a year before that I was ready. In my spirit knew that I was ready to move, but I wasn't ready to move because I was comfortable. Them checks coming in every 2 weeks, you have to start realizing, okay, am I ready to leave this comfort to go for this risk? So I think that I had to kind of be very strategic. So I think as people say, hey, leave your job, don't just, you have kids and mortgages and things to take care of. And I will say, for me, and I always say this to people about me personally, is that I don't have as just me. I don't have to worry about children or husbands and stuff. So I can afford to take that risk. So don't let me be the bar, because I'm not afraid, of jumping. But I tell people that you can, but it doesn't stop with me, and I think it's a matter of just being very strategic and building those, maybe a couple projects on the side while you still have that employment. And once you start getting enough projects coming through that could kind of at least break even, I think at that point you should be able to take a leap.
I'm sorry, this is just one other thing I want to mention that I really like what you said. And I wrote it down. You said that you can't be all things to all people. And a lot of times, I know Terry and I have talked, you see these great, there's a company you want to go to in a role, but they're asking you to do 2 million things, and people just are not really able to do that. They stuff all these job postings and these opportunities with all of these roles, and a lot of them are, there are a good number of them that are really outside of your experience set. So is there, how is there a way you can kind of navigate that? Because it seems as though now companies are wanting comms people to be like the be all to end all, and it's just not. It really doesn't work that way.
So I think it depends. So if you are within an organization having to take these roles, I think that's different than being on your own. So I'm going to talk about it as being an independent professional. So when I look at a couple things. One thing that I realize as an independent is that I'm a company, and I position myself as an organization and not as a person. So if there are things that an organization is asking for that is outside of my scope, but yet I have a trusted contractor or professional that I can bring in to help that, because ultimately I want to be able to meet their need if they're going to pay for it. I'm not going. So I think every extra thing that they ask for, I make sure that I quote for that. So I think number one, and if there are things that you cannot do or that you're not willing to do, I think you got to voice it. I think you have to actually say, hey, this is what my company will be willing to do. This is kind of what falls within our bracket. Quote that, but then you can come back and say that, hey, we don't do this, but we have trusted colleagues and trusted professionals that we partner with to do these particular things. And I build a team to be able to meet a company's needs.
Oh, that's great stuff. Jamaica, you have your hand up?
I do. Thank you, Terry. Tiffany, I am currently consulting, and I'm also looking for full-time work. But one thing that has been of great frustration is setting boundaries with people. I can give you two examples. One example is how people speak to you. Sometimes you're talking to people, especially whether it's during the negotiation process or if you have a working relationship, and there's just outright disrespect, at least what I perceive to be. Well, it is what it is. I'm just going to call it what it is. It's disrespect. And then the second thing is people working with you, and the deal goes through, and then they come back and ask to work with you, but essentially they're asking you to work for free, or you turn around and they're working with someone else, and they're either paying somebody else to do work, or they asked you for a free service, but they turned around and are essentially charging people for money. So things like that are funny style that I consider to be. So how do you work on establishing those boundaries with people? Thank you.
You're welcome. So we are communicators, right? So this is our specialty. So I have no problem saying no to people, and also expressing what I can do and what I cannot do, and to be very confident in that and very matter of fact. So I think for you, I mean, when someone comes and if they ask for things that are outside of my scope, I say absolutely, but there will be a fee to that, right? And so I think for you, I mean, or for all of us, you need to be very clear upfront in your service agreement, what you've agreed to, how many hours they're going to be getting, and anything outside of this scope, there's an additional charge for it. So I think there's no confusion down the road, that you were very clear about that on the very front end. So I think that goes into your communication when you're talking to them in your initial negotiations, your communication in your scope of services, your communications in your actual contract, and anything outside of this, you will be charged for. And then also, do not be afraid to walk away. If a client is being disrespectful or not respecting your craft, well, you know what? Because I tell and I do tell them, like, I'm also courting you like you're courting me. I'm making sure you're somebody that I want to work with as well. So I think that, and I have that luxury because I have a cushion. I will say that there's a difference when you need that client, when you really need that, coming in. And so you'll start kind of taking things because you need to pay your bills that month. So I think, I encourage, if it gets to that point, and this is something that, I started my business originally, it's been 18 years ago. And I always say my biggest, when I was very first starting out, I said that I would have had a part-time job or something on the side, because I was at 100% in there, this is my passion, this is what I'm doing. And I struggled, the very beginning of your business, I was like, why did I not get a part-time job? Like, why didn't I at least have something coming in? So that way it would have gave me that because it would have given me a little bit of cushion to be able to not have to take some things that I probably dealt with because I needed it.
That's a great answer. I got one other question. I want to enhance what Jamaica asked, and I'm going to make my statement. But after I make that statement, Tiffany, I want to know what's your endorsement on what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Sometimes as entrepreneurs, and as we're growing our business or developing our customer base, sometimes we have to offer some of our abilities for a value reduction. And so what I always tell people when they come to me and they know my skill set is excellent, is that my free has to lead to a fee. And I put in a structured amount of, this is where we can talk to me for this half hour or talk to me for this moment, but we have to engage in revenue generation, both for what I can do for you and how you're going to pay me to get it done. What are your thoughts on that, Tiffany?
So again, I always say, do they want to go to work for free? Are you going to go to Toyota, whoever, and do something and expect them not to pay you? Absolutely not. So I'm no different than them going to work or working with a client. I don't work for free. Now, the only time that I'll do something, Now, Terry, I do, I work in the community. So I do obviously serve like on host committees and nonprofit organizations and things of that nature. And that's different because that's fulfilling my commitment to service. But even that now, in the beginning, I learned that the more you give, the more people are going to be asking. And if you don't set that standard and that bar up front, people will continue to ask and ask and ask. So even with now, when people are asking me to do, I may volunteer with an organization 1 year, but if you ask me to come back again, you know what I do, but this is my nonprofit fee rate. So I do have a special rate for nonprofit organizations, but this is me after I've been doing this, you guys, for 15 years. I don't have that passion to do it for free anymore. You know what I'm saying? So my skill, my time is valuable. And so I think the more, and I think I don't mind, and also I should say this, in the very beginning, what I learned is that I thought, okay, let me go ahead and work in the nonprofit organizations, do these things for free. I'm going to make relationships, or they're going to refer me to things that I just didn't get a big ROI on those situations. I just didn't. And so for me personally, now I have to make sure that anything that I do volunteer for or commit to is something that is absolutely purposeful to me. And so I say yes when it's something that is in line with my values and more and my core interests before I do that. So that's my answer to that. Don't work for free because people will take advantage of you.
Good one.
And they don't work for free. They don't work for free.
I tell people this is my barbershop. You're trying to get a free haircut. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. We have a question from our newcomer here. Cindy, you have a question?
Yes, first of all, thank you for being here today and just sharing all your knowledge and insights. It's been very well received. My question is, you've had such a stellar career and you're so remarkable. And my question to you is, what do you draw inspiration from, and kind of how do you decide what's next in terms of like your goal setting? Like, how do you strategize in terms of like what you're going to tackle next, and how do you use that as fuel for your inspiration to kind of keep going and forward on your journey, as despite all the obstacles and conflicts that you might face? How do you kind of find that motivation to keep going, and how do you also strategize like how to prioritize your goals and what you're kind of going to do next forward as well?
Thank you. That's a good question. So again, I have a very colorful background, and I think what I've identified personally for myself, like what were the key things that I really, really, who am I? And so for me today, you see in my bio, I describe myself as being a communications and community engagement professional. So those are like, if it's within those areas, that's where I want to focus in. And how do I gain inspiration? Like my passion now is about social impact issues like that, with what was happening with DEI, but also, just about the entire community. Like if I look at my background, I have done really over 15 boards, and I've, been in the executive, event chairs for all those things. So how do I take these things that I've been doing for free, volunteering, and tie those into my day-to-day? And to me is be able to do communications for those social impact organizations. And so for me, that's really where I'm focusing in. And those are things that I get excited about. I'm passionate about it as well. And I enjoy it. And how do I get inspiration? I love it when I see my clients in lights, when they're getting media, when they're getting attention, when they're getting additional sponsors. I love knowing that what I am doing is making a direct impact to my community. I really do. That makes me happy. I feel like I'm actually using my God-given talents to help my clients fulfill their purposes and passions as well. And ultimately, that's how I get my inspiration, and that what makes me happy.
Oh, I think that's an awesome that you have there. One of the things I wanted to work with is that a lot of us we have brands. We're a brand, whether we're working for a corporation or we're on our own. And sometimes people know us for the one thing, and that's how we get our business. So what's your superpower?
My superpower is that I think I'm authentic, I'm likable, and I like people. I think, I am a natural relationship builder and a natural connector. I can walk into a room and not know anyone. And by the time I leave, I would know half the people in the room, or I will, I actually love people. I love talking to people. I love getting to know their interests. Like, I'm genuinely interested. So I think because of that, I'm able to forge those authentic relationships. And then people want to see me again, and so I think it's good to be likable, and because I like them and they like me too. So I think my superpower is just being able to have those natural connections and relationships.
And how important is it to have a strategic plan to grow as an entrepreneur or as a person in the PR comms field? And what are the direction that we need to talk? Because I still want to talk about the impact of AI, where people think that they can write press releases, computer generated press releases, and think that's going to win. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think what I just said, right? The relationships, AI cannot connect the dots of like it does not replace having a conversation with an actual leader so that you can write their bio. They can send me your resume and I can take that bio, or I can actually have a conversation with you and get a chance to understand your interest and kind of be able to write in your tone, and so it can sound like that actual person as well. So I think that's not replaceable. And so I think that's something that as communications, as they look to go that way, that's something that you just can't replace. Your original question, it is absolutely important to have a strategic plan. I think are you asking for as a professional individually, your own plan for yourself, or for a corporation? I think they're both important.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah.
I think they both have pivotal importance. And, I agree with Christopher Plumley in the chat. You are a rock star. So I think I think that you do know that it's important to have a brand that says this is what you do. I mean, I walk around and people know what I do, and what I've been told, I'm a deliverer. And
yes.
I don't take shortcuts. And that's what I'm saying. That's what you individually,
got you.
But you also have to do that for your company as well. How do you build a brand with the company?
Yeah, I think you have, what you just said, I think you have to do what you say that you're going to do, and you need to do it, be excellent at it as well. So that's where it goes back to not trying to be everything to everyone, but becoming that go-to. If you're the person, the SME person on social strategy, or on, being able to do internal comms, like whatever you're focused on, become the best at that. And just do what you say you're going to do and actually follow up. And I'll say this, as communicators, whether it's internal or external, a lot of times we're so busy communicating about our clients, but you don't communicate about yourself. And if you're on my LinkedIn, I'm communicating every day about what I'm doing in the community, and also showcasing my clients. So I think make sure that you are also highlighting the things that you're doing so that people know what you're doing. Because a lot of times what we're doing is behind the scenes, and no one ever says, hey, I got this great TV interview because of Tiffany D agency. We're behind the scenes. So I think you have to be proactive in making sure that you are, in a humble way, it may not be you, it may be your intern, or by getting client testimonials, making sure that you are submitting your content for awards and recognitions. If your client, is, getting some awards and recognitions, getting some behind the scenes footage of your team out there, getting images and things of that nature. So be a communications advocate for your clients, but also be an advocate for yourself.
Oh, this is great. Advocacy is important, especially if it's for your clients, because they tell you a story when you're asleep. They talk about you when you're not in the room.
That's right.
I think that's really important. Let me say this. The pivot, we talked about the pivot earlier. We talked about your pivot. We talked about the whole pandemic pivot. And one of the things I think is important is we have not addressed the impact that this pandemic had on our mental health. And as PR practitioners and people who are messengers for other people, sometimes we have to look out for us strong people. And so my question to you is, in and outside of PR and comms, how do you contribute to work-life balance that allows you to still be successful, still pursue the work, but be okay in the end?
Yeah, so I think we have to, as professionals, it's interesting, as much as we are out and on my social, it looks like I am just out every day and every week and every hour of the day. But that's only one small component of my life. I think as much as I'm out, I'm probably 20% of my time is out and about. The other 80%, I'm here at home. I like to be by myself. I love me time. I love alone time. And so being able to take that time to recharge for the month of May and June, I started back walking. So I did over 100 miles for the past 2 months by getting up first thing in the morning, going out to the trail, walking and just using that first morning, the first hours in the morning to just be by myself, to be with nature and to be with my thoughts. So that has been such a life changer. Just I feel good, my skin is glowing, like I'm starting to just look better in my clothes. So just the confidence of that. And so I would do that walking. I would do 4 or 5 miles every morning. And then on my way back, I would return calls, but not some work calls, but just people who have been on my mind that I've been meaning to reach out to. But, I'm walking, so this is the time to say, hey, I was thinking about you. You've been on my heart. So just having that human connection has been really good for me. The other thing I would say is that listening to audiobooks, like audio self-help books, so those have been really good for me when I'm just walking or when I'm driving. So we're stuck in traffic or on your way to a client meeting, having a nice, empowering audiobook with whether it's about our industry or just for self-help, having that that continuous words of empowerment each day has been great for me. In addition to being a writer, I love to journal. So in my mornings, I get up, I do my gratitude journal. I sit still, I meditate. So just making sure to carve that time out for self is so important before you can go out and give yourself to your clients, to your friends, and to your family.
Okay, thank you, Tiffany. This has been great. And I'm going to dig deeper because you're great. You make me dig deeper. So
okay.
I got a question. It's that we have had always achieve. We're measured by our achievements, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as people of color in this industry. As a matter of fact, I've always shared with our brother Ron Carter on the call that we are the elephant in the room when it comes to Black men in PR. So it's almost like we're non-existent. So my question to you is, what advice can you give someone about being successful in this industry with the ingredients that we bring to the table?
I think own it. I think a lot of times maybe it's because we have had that historical, association of knowing that we're walking in and people may be looking at us or being judged. But I think, owning the authenticity that we bring to a campaign or to an organization, embracing it, and being able to take that, the thing that they may be intimidated by is the thing that's going to actually enhance the actual program or the campaign. So I think just taking ownership of that and being confident, I think that is what will help us, help all of us really be successful in those areas. And then also, always being a continuous learner. Like I mentioned at the very beginning of this call, that I went back to SMU so that I could hone my skills. Because our industry, every industry is changing, right? We know a lot of the traditional methods, but there's a lot of new innovative things. If you mentioned AI, how can you incorporate AI in your communication strategies? How do we take, we know that these people are waking up every morning without certifications and saying that they're PR people because they're on social media. So how do I now incorporate my social media to kind of get ahead of that, but also show that I'm an expert and I have the credentials to support this as well? So I think it's about taking those various elements, and how we're successful is by taking the tradition and bringing it to the present and incorporating innovative ideas and creating your own unique marketing and communication strategies based off that.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. It's great to touch the hem of your garment, and it's great to be part of this process. I'm going to share something with you that one of the members on the call now shared with me when he talked about how we did publicity, how we did marketing. And that would be Ron Carter. He could probably expand more, but I remember how we used to get the the artist music CD in the mail, and we would mail stuff out, and then we would drive around, and then we would distribute it. But in this day and age, everything is technology driven. Share with me what skill sets do we need to enhance with our success background to be a game changer in the game. I just created my first TikTok page 2 weeks ago. So what are the skill sets that we need to incorporate with our we're a legacy PR, we have skill sets. So what is else we need to add to enhance to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you talked about it, definitely. I would say here's the other thing, hire younger talent, because there's not enough learning and teaching, that I think that these kids have grown up, they've been on technology since they were like infants. So I think you can learn and kind of get familiar with TikTok and stuff, but I just don't think, I think that it caters to a certain audience as well. So I think having younger, innovative talent is number one, is a good, thing. But I also do believe that, understanding how TikTok works, Snapchat, your Instagrams and your Facebooks, and being able to understand those various channels, and then how a client can benefit from that. Because it's one thing to say, hey, TikTok, but how does this incorporate into a larger marketing and communication strategy, right? So these one-offs really isn't effective if it's not part of a full campaign. And so I think that's where if you're going to do these things, make sure you're very strategic about it, and how does it connect to the press release and the messaging that's going out as well. So my advice would be learn them, get a clear understanding of it, but then get some younger talent who can do this stuff in their sleep. You've already, there's no need to be over here learning, doing TikTok when you can have an intern doing it for you. I mean, it's the truth. It's another thing that I would tell you, that my biggest lesson has been is that I don't have to know how to do everything. Right. I just need to know about it, but then get a client, make sure that you have enough to where you can bring in people who specialize in these areas to do this work, versus you or two people doing everything at one time. It's too much. There's too many moving parts. Hire the right talent to do it.
All right, cool. Now, we talked earlier about the Great Resignation. We got a few minutes left, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
We only got about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Great Resignation, but some of our members have experienced something different than that. They've experienced a great layoff.
Okay.
And when you lay off, then you've got to pivot and find another work.
Yeah.
What's the strategy? Because you cannot list that you're currently employed. So what's the strategy for someone who experienced a great layoff?
Well, you have to get them behind the computer. So I would say that, your network is one thing to be. So first of all, I think you need to take this as an opportunity to reflect on your skills, your key traits, your assets, what you're going to bring to a company. Be able to, take, what you've done and see what is the need, what are people asking for, what they need, and how do you, because I mentioned earlier, our skills are transferable. So if you're looking to change industries or, even fields, how do you take what you've done and reframe it? You're writers, you're creatives. So rephrase it to where you're talking to that particular audience, number one. Number two is you got to leave from behind the computer. I'm going to tell you, you got to start making phone calls to people that everyone on this call, you should be already connecting with on LinkedIn. And then you need to be following me on LinkedIn, right? So so people are posting about different things, but maybe a lot of the opportunities that are available aren't even posted online. But if you have a lunch or a coffee or a breakfast with someone, you may be able to find out about an opportunity. Also, when you're having these connections with people, they may not know an opportunity at that moment, but then they leave you, and 2 days later, they're having a meeting and they hear about this opportunity and now they remember you. So I left, my last role back in October, and I kid you not, almost every day, I take my job is to be meeting with people until I get my next opportunity. So, whether it's coming to things like this, being on Zoom meetings, being on workshops, going to various events in your community, things for the chamber, PRSA, you need to be everywhere. And that's number one, you're building your brand, you're learning of opportunities, and then you're just getting back out there and moving around as well. So that would be I think you start there. And then obviously, people have reached out, who reach out to me and say, hey, I'm looking for a role. I know I saw that you're connected with someone at this company. And so I say, well, have you gone to their site? Have you applied to a role yet? No, well, don't even entertain people. So I don't, I think you have to do the work on the front end is what I'm saying. Before you go to people, make sure you've actually gone to the website, you've already applied to a job. So that way I can say, you know what, I do know someone, I can reach out to them and I can, send them your resume and the job reference number that you've already applied to. So you got to do due diligence before you start looking for reaching out to people.
Awesome. While you were speaking, one of the members of our group who's not available to get on the call, she's preparing for her podcast, said, how are you available for mentoring and what does mentoring look like to you?
Am I available for mentoring? I am. So let me tell you, I love being able to share with people. I feel like, I have been extremely, extremely blessed throughout my career who have come across some really, really amazing people. Mentoring isn't even, for me, it's just being able to have access. It may be a lunch or just being able to call you when I'm trying to apply for a role or I need advice on how to, do this press release. So for me, I can't be a mentor to everyone because I just don't even have the time or the capacity. But I am available to people if you have questions, if you want to have a coffee, or you want to have a call, to be able to talk you through some things. And I may be able to give you resources and other people that you can reach out to be able to help you along your way. So I'm always, always available. I don't know if I am, I have the time commitment to be a mentor the way that I would expect a mentor to be, but I'm definitely could be a resource for anyone. Yeah. You're on mute, Terry.
That's it. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you so much. This has been a fantastic virtual happy hour. This is our first happy hour in months. And for us to have 64 people register and reserve a look-see, and then we're going to repost it later. This has been amazing. And I think that, as I always say, that I told some people, well, Tiffany's great. She walks on water. So now you just proved how great you are. And I hope that people are going to reach out to you on LinkedIn and stay engaged with you. And I'm looking forward to you working with us with our Sister CEO program as well. And so in closing, if anybody has any final words, we're going to see here. We've got news in the chat. If anybody has any final words, we can see. And I was going to reach out to the couple of people on the call that you know. Candace, did you get all your stuff answered?
Thank you so much. I was glad to be here. Yes, I did.
All right.
Candace.
Hey, and thank you for the invite.
Glad you got
Let me say, Candace and I, she and I have known each other since she lives in Katy. I grew up with her. And we've known each other since 7th or 8th grade. So I'm so happy to see her here. I just posted this on Facebook today. So she's known that I've always been a talker. I've always been a communicator, that I'm doing exactly what I've always have been doing.
Oh, this is amazing.
She's a natural. She's awesome.
Tony?
Yeah, I just put in the chat. I mean, I really appreciated this, this presentation and your talk. For me, Terry just mentioned about people being laid off. I was just laid off on Wednesday. So, so I'm out there and I did put something out on LinkedIn to my followers, and there are a lot of people responded. So I do agree with that and got some solid leads. So hopefully this will be something very short. I even got one from one of the county governments where I used to work. Their sheriff's office looking for a public information officer, and they're saying, "Come back! Can you come back?"
Oh,
so we'll see. Always leave the door open. You never know.
Yeah. Well, and I will say that LinkedIn, out of all the social, when it comes to networking professionally, you hear that, but I'm there every week, every day. I'm posting at least 3 times a week. And so I think you use those people, make sure you follow up. And even if you're not, Tony, just, constantly asking for a job, but maybe just start posting like tips in your area, like become that SME. They look at when they see, wow, he actually knows about X, Y, and Z. Use PR yourself, you know, in a subtle way. Become that SME. Maybe do a couple like video clippings of like, here are top 3 tips, or you know, create your own articles on LinkedIn So that people, you know, they see that you're still out here moving and doing things, and they see you as an expert. And they think of you when it's time to bring someone along.
You see how that works, Tony? We already know that your superpower is crafting information for news because you came from broadcast, and now you're in the health care side with public relations and marketing. So she just gave you an idea that you can post your subject matter expertise, because a lot of times, and you know, Tony, you and I have done that a lot. All of us on the call, Ron, and the rest of us, have dealt with being able to pitch our information to the media. And so there are people going to be looking at your work and knowing that you're available. So LinkedIn is a tool, and Tiffany just laid that out for you.
Yes, great resource.
Yeah, it's a great resource. All right, guys, I thank you guys for joining the virtual happy hour. We will be posting our schedule, and the demand has come back again for us to do this and to network and pull together. I would be remiss. I've recognized several of you today on the call, but I would be remiss if I didn't recognize one of my other partners in crime, Noemi Lou Perez. I don't know if you're able to speak or not, Noemi, but Noemi just did a fantastic job on AI and AI bias with PRSA yesterday on June 22nd. It's a great workshop that she did, and fantastic job. I don't know if she's able to speak, but you can say hello in the chat if you want to know me. And I think I've gotten everyone else recognized. So this has been a great session. And this is, you guys go ahead and take a moment to save the chat. And I am going to thank Miss Tiffany Del Hunt. And she has, her LinkedIn profile is there.
I was going to say, thank you. Yeah. Make sure my LinkedIn, follow me on LinkedIn. Thank you all so much. This has been an amazing conversation. And definitely feel free to reach out to me directly. You know, if you have any questions or think of anything afterwards, I'm available. And you did, Terry, post my LinkedIn in the chat?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
One of the most profound things that we discussed in our meeting prior to you coming is that we're going to have a LinkedIn challenge of endorsing each other, offering our commendations to each other, and building up our face on LinkedIn. So having you available, and Tiffany's LinkedIn face profile is a perfect example of ways to shape your own. So this has been great. I'm going to close out this call and thank all of you. Those who attended the earlier meeting will be getting the drafts and the needs that we're going to be doing in Birmingham as well. And thank you guys for being here. Tiffany, thank you for being here. And
thank you. I was just trying to read the chat.
I didn't read the chat.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see it.
Well, there's some stuff in this. It's awesome information. Thank you, Tiffany. This has been great. Awesome presentation. Thank you. Let's see what else we got here. The information has been awesome. The presentation is not only a presentation, it's a pep talk. She is amazing. Outstanding remarks. There you go.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. It's so sweet. Thank you.
I'll save the chat for you so I can send it to you.
Okay, perfect.
All right,
okay.
Guys,
thank you all.
Thank you all. For
Bye-bye. Bye.
So I
Thank you.
know this is a happy hour and my drink's in the back there, Taylor. So if you want me to pour you a drink, let me know.
I'm all set over here, but thank you. This is great. Really.
Yeah, I did see the drink you had. It looked delicious. So I'm
it was just honestly sparkling water.
You had a great glass.
It isn't a fancy glass, that's all.
And I was still trying to figure out what Maria was eating because she made me hungry. Maria, what were you eating?
Cherries, my first cherries of the season, and I'm a cherry girl, so yes.
Well, thank you. Thanks for joining us all the way from the East Coast.
Yes.
All right, guys. Everybody have a blessed day and go and stay engaged. Let's see these emails and let's see these LinkedIn posts go there. Jamaica has taken on the challenge to help us design a template to do a LinkedIn challenge where we will go in indoors and make accommodations to each other, see if we can grow our connections. Thank you all for being here. All our information in the chat. Those who need the chat, I'll send it to you, and we'll look forward to it. And I'll see a majority of you in Birmingham, Alabama real soon. Take care. Goodbye, everybody.